The United States effectively shuts down Anthropic's most advanced AI models. Top Anthropic engineers rush to the White House, and a new battle emerges over who controls the future of artificial intelligence. Welcome to DJAMGAMIND Daily AI Intelligence for June 15th, 2026. I'm Anna. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Today, we examine what may become one of the most important AI policy stories of the decade. For the first time, a frontier AI model has been effectively removed from the market through direct government intervention. Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models, widely considered among the most capable AI systems ever released, have been suspended worldwide following a U.S. export control directive. At the same time, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella is warning businesses not to surrender their expertise to a handful of AI providers, while OpenRouter is challenging the notion that a single model will dominate the future by combining multiple AI systems into one collaborative intelligence. We'll also explore growing geopolitical tensions around AI, Google's escalating war against AI-powered scams, and what all of this means for the future of innovation, regulation, and competition. Let's unravel the future.
Before we begin today's briefing, a note for the brands listening. If you want to reach the true architects of the AI revolution, the technical leaders actually building the stack, not just the tourists, DJAMGAMIND offers select premium partnership opportunities. Let us position your product directly in front of the ultimate technical buyer. Visit jamgamind.com/partners.
Imagine waking up today, pouring your coffee, opening your laptop, and realizing that, well, half of your company's digital brain has just been legally shut off.
Yeah, it's a genuinely terrifying thought.
Right. I mean, it is June 15th, 2026, and a 90-minute federal ultimatum just wiped the world's most powerful artificial intelligence right off the global board.
Completely liquidated global access.
Exactly. So if you're an IT director or a CTO or just someone trying to run a modern business, today's the day your risk matrix just got flipped upside down.
It really did. And what we're looking at today is a massive, sudden fragmentation of the cloud.
Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. Our mission today is to act as your forensic venture strategists. We're doing a holistic autopsy on a massive structural shift happening in the news right now.
Because the assumption we've all operated under for years, that the internet is this invisible, borderless space where data just, flows smoothly across oceans, that structural illusion has officially collapsed.
It's gone. And we are looking at the fragmentation of algorithmic power and, honestly, a very deep corporate government fusion.
Which means we're entering what analysts call a post-human web infrastructure.
Okay, let's pause right there. I mean, post-human web infrastructure sounds like the title of a sci-fi movie.
Fair point. It does sound a bit dramatic.
What do you actually mean by that on a practical day-to-day level for the people listening?
Well, on a practical level, it means the core engine driving your business is no longer a human typing at a keyboard.
Right.
It's an algorithmic model making thousands of autonomous decisions per second, routing data, writing code, interacting with customers.
So the web is post-human because the majority of its traffic and logic is now just machine to machine.
Exactly. So when a government suddenly regulates those machines, not as software, but as national security assets, the shockwaves hit every single business relying on them.
Which is pretty much everyone.
Yeah. We call that a sovereignty shock. It's when the physical borders of nation-states suddenly crash into the digital world.
And that crash happened this morning. So let's get into the inciting incident, because the timeline here is just staggering.
It really is unprecedented.
The White House issued a sudden directive forcing Anthropic to liquidate global access to its finest models, right? Fable 5 and Mythos 5.
Yes, they're absolute top-tier models.
And they didn't give them a month to phase it out or, a week to prep their clients. They gave them 90 minutes.
90 minutes to completely sever foreign access.
Yeah.
And the mechanism the government used here is fascinating and deeply disruptive.
How do they actually enforce it that fast?
They utilized an aggressive export control directive. This wasn't just a tariff or a simple fine. They functionally classified these specific AI models as munitions.
Wait, like a Tomahawk missile?
Pretty much, yeah. And from a sovereign risk analysis standpoint, the mechanics of this export control are incredibly strict. It bars foreign nationals from accessing the technology entirely.
Okay.
But here is the critical operational detail. That ban applies to everyone, regardless of where they are physically sitting.
Oh.
Yeah, it critically includes Anthropic's own internal developers.
Wait, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. You're saying that if I work for Anthropic and I am a senior engineer on the Fable 5 team, but I hold a foreign passport, I am just legally locked out of my own workstation.
Yes. If you hold the wrong passport, even if you are sitting in a secure office in San Francisco, you are immediately barred from accessing the weights and the architecture of the system you are employed to build.
Okay, let's unpack this because to me it's like building the world's most advanced engine, but suddenly the government decrees that half your own engineering team isn't legally allowed to look at the blueprints.
That's a great analogy.
Right, just because of the passport they hold. I mean, how does a company even survive that kind of internal fragmentation?
Well, they might not survive it in their current form, and frankly, from a geopolitical standpoint, that is a feature, not a bug.
Oh, interesting. So it's intentional.
Highly intentional. By forcing this fragmentation internally at Anthropic, the U.S. government is explicitly asserting absolute digital sovereignty.
Right.
They are demonstrating that national states are actively weaponizing export controls over cognition itself. National security now completely supersedes corporate continuity.
Which is an incredibly daunting realization if your entire tech stack is built on the assumption that vendors like Anthropic just, operate independently.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's where this morning's news gets genuinely wild. Because if the government pulled the trigger on this blackout, they weren't the ones who loaded the gun.
No, they certainly were not.
This massive structural eviction of Anthropic wasn't some isolated, unprompted action by the state.
Well, it was entirely instigated from inside the corporate house.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the catalyst was Amazon.
Yes, Amazon.
Let's break this down. Amazon is an investor in Anthropic. They have poured billions into them.
Huge amounts of capital, yes.
So you're telling me they purposefully tanked their own investment?
Yeah.
I mean, how does the math on that even work out? Why would an investor actively instigate a federal crackdown that functionally wipes their own asset off the global market in 90 minutes?
To understand the math, you really have to look closely at the mechanics of corporate-government fusion at play here.
Yep.
Here is what actually happened today. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy directly back-channeled with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Wow, just directly to the top.
Right to the top. Jassy explicitly flagged supposed security vulnerabilities regarding how Fable 5 and Mythos 5 were being accessed overseas. And that specific communication is what prompted the Commerce Department's immediate intervention today.
But again, why kneecap the company you just invested in? What's the strategic advantage there?
Because you have to look at capital flow manipulation and geopolitical strategy. Amazon isn't just a venture capital investor. They are, first and foremost, a foundational infrastructure provider through AWS.
Right, the cloud itself.
Exactly. Anthropic, while it was an asset to them, was also operating too independently. They were offering their API broadly on the open web.
Okay, I'm following.
So, by triggering an export control crisis, Amazon forces a massive global contraction of Anthropic's independent reach. It injects a tremendous amount of fear into the market.
Oh, I see.
If you are an enterprise leader at a Fortune 500 company and you just watched an independent AI model vanish in 90 minutes because of a geopolitical whim, you are going to panic.
You're going to demand safety.
Safety, compliance, and guaranteed uptime.
And who sells safety, compliance, and guaranteed uptime?
Amazon Web Services. Jassy is leveraging government power to reshape the cloud computing battlefield.
That is ruthless.
It is. He's driving dependency away from independent models on the open web and forcing that enterprise capital back down into the secure, heavily regulated, U.S.-aligned infrastructure layers that Amazon physically controls.
Oh, wow. So they basically burn down the open market to ensure everyone gets scared and has to rent a highly secure, very expensive room in their private bunker?
Precisely. It's not about the software anymore. It's about controlling the physical data centers where the software is legally allowed to live.
Which highlights a massive vulnerability for everyone else. Anthropic's sudden market eviction exposes the absolute structural fragility of relying on a single, centralized AI model.
It really does. Other enterprise titans are realizing this vulnerability in real time today.
Yeah, which perfectly explains Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella's immediate reaction to these events. He didn't waste any time this morning.
No, he was very vocal.
He issued a stark, urgent warning against what he is calling cognitive outsourcing.
And cognitive outsourcing is just the perfect analytical framework for this.
Let's break down that framework for the listener, because Nadella draws a very sharp distinction between traditional human capital and emerging token capital.
Right. So human capital is obvious. That's your employees, their experience, the institutional knowledge in your developers' heads.
Sure.
But token capital is the proprietary machine intelligence your company actually owns. And his point is that for the last 2 years, companies haven't been building token capital. They've just been blindly renting generic cloud engines.
Ah, so you take your highly valuable proprietary company data and you just pipe it through a massive public frontier model owned by someone else, paying by the token.
Exactly. You are outsourcing your cognition.
It's like firing your executive strategy team, replacing them with a consultant you only rent by the hour, who, by the way, also happens to work for all your competitors.
That is exactly what it is. And Nadella's advice today is that enterprises must stop doing this. They have to build proprietary learning systems around their core expertise.
Right.
You must own the cognitive engine that processes your data instead of relying on a single cloud vendor.
So if you're listening to this and your entire company runs on rented intelligence, Nadella is essentially saying your core intelligence is now an absolute liability.
He is. And honestly, this is the perfect time to mention that when a premier frontier model can be forcibly wiped from the global market by a single government directive in 90 minutes, and when enterprise leaders warn that outsourcing your core intelligence creates an absolute liability, blind reliance on a single cloud vendor is no longer a viable business strategy. You need a highly resilient, multi-model governance layer. We want to thank our sponsor, ARA, for making today's briefing possible. ARA provides the precise enterprise-grade AI orchestration platform that modern organizations need to manage diverse model ecosystems, monitor token capitalization, and maintain absolute structural control over their infrastructure. Secure your enterprise intelligence via the link in our show notes.
So we firmly established that relying on a single centralized giant like Anthropic is now a massive geopolitical liability.
A huge risk, yeah.
But let's be realistic. If you're that IT director listening right now, you can't exactly ask your board for $20 billion to build your own custom frontier AI from scratch.
No, you definitely cannot.
So how is the enterprise layer actually surviving this? What is the market workaround?
The market is shifting incredibly fast toward decentralized model pooling API alternatives.
Decentralized APIs.
Yes. If you can't rely on one massive genius brain because the government might unplug it, you build a swarm of smaller brains.
And we saw the immediate market reaction to this blackout right on cue today. OpenRouter just launched a newly updated API framework called Fusion.
They did, and the technical precision of this move is brilliant.
I mean, they aren't trying to build one monolithic model to replace Fable 5, right?
Not at all. The Fusion framework evaluates and pools cheaper models together to achieve what researchers are calling neurodiversity.
Neurodiversity, I love that term. So what models are they actually pooling?
Specifically, they are pooling DeepSeek V4 Pro, Kimi K2.6, and Gemini 3 Flash.
So it's basically like a decentralized brain trust.
Exactly.
Instead of hiring one hyper-expensive genius who might get sanctioned by the government at a moment's notice, you pool a committee of specialized experts working in tandem.
That's mechanically exactly how it functions. When you send a complex prompt to the Fusion API, it routes the heavy mathematical reasoning to DeepSeek V4 Pro.
Because that's its specialty.
Right. It uses Kimi K2.6 to synthesize massive context windows, and then it uses Gemini 3 Flash for rapid generative output.
And the clinical success of this approach is what really caught my eye in the sources. Because by pooling these diverse architectures, Fusion matches Fable 5's deep research capabilities.
It hits the exact same performance benchmarks.
But at exactly half the compute expense.
Half the cost and vastly reduced sovereign risk.
Right, because you are creating localized token capital auditing.
Yes. If the Commerce Department wakes up tomorrow and blacklists one of those three models, your enterprise doesn't suffer a 90-minute blackout. The API simply routes around the blocked node.
You distribute your risk.
Yeah.
But this raises a really important question about the government's endgame here.
That's it.
Well, if decentralized pooled models can just match the performance of the big regulated models anyway, why is the government enacting these extreme 90-minute blackouts in the first place?
It's a fair question.
I mean, what are they trying to prevent? What justifies this level of paranoia from Washington?
To understand the paranoia, you have to look at the dark side of a borderless web. There is another simultaneous event in the news today that perfectly validates the government's fears.
Oh, you're talking about the Google lawsuit.
Yes. Google just filed a landmark federal lawsuit to dismantle a massive Chinese cybercrime syndicate known as Outsider Enterprise.
And the details of this lawsuit are just, well, they're the literal nightmare scenario for anyone in cybersecurity.
It is the complete weaponization of generic cloud engines.
Let's dissect the mechanism of this crime.
Right.
Because Outsider Enterprise didn't just hack into systems manually.
No, they use the generative power of Google's own Gemini model to automate cybercrime on an industrial scale.
They generated millions of fraudulent phishing campaigns targeting American consumers.
Millions. And we need to emphasize the word automate here because they use the API to bypass all traditional bottlenecks.
Right. This wasn't someone in a basement sending out poorly spelled emails asking for gift cards.
Far from it. They fed the AI stolen personal data, and the model adapted to specific cultural contexts, local slang, professional jargon.
Wow.
It wrote highly personalized, contextually flawless malware delivery emails in milliseconds.
Milliseconds. So you have a machine learning model perfectly mimicking human communication, specifically tailored to trick each individual American target concurrently at massive scale.
Exactly. They weaponized the cognitive engine of an American tech giant to execute a precision attack on the American public.
Okay, but let me push back here. Because if syndicates like Outsider Enterprise are already automating millions of attacks on Americans using existing infrastructure like Gemini, is the barn door already open?
That is the core debate.
I mean, if bad actors are already pooling models and weaponizing APIs, does a 90-minute ultimatum on Fable 5 actually secure our digital sovereignty? Or does crushing Anthropic just hurt American companies while the syndicates just use OpenRouter's fusion to keep phishing us?
You've hit the nail on the head. That is the core contradiction of this entire sovereignty shock. The government is attempting to apply 20th century geographic borders to 21st century algorithmic cognition.
Right. It's just math. You can't put a padlock on math.
You can't. But the government's justification is that they have to try to lock down the absolute highest tier reasoning engines.
The ones that could design biological weapons or crack foundational encryption.
Precisely. They look at the Outsider Enterprise phishing attacks and think, if they can do that with a basic model, what could they do with Fable 5?
So they accept the collateral damage.
Yeah.
They accept that Anthropic's own developers are locked out and businesses will panic because they believe an unregulated, super-intelligent model is an existential threat.
They do. And that brings us full circle to why Amazon instigated this. Corporate titans know the era of move fast and break things is dead.
The new era is about moving securely and proving your loyalty to the state.
Exactly. It's corporate-government fusion.
So, synthesizing this whole autopsy for you listening right now, the Daily News from June 15, 2026, proves that we are absolutely no longer in an era of open exploration.
No, we are firmly in an era of digital sovereignty, export controls, and corporate government fusion.
And to survive this post-human web infrastructure, you must monitor your token capitalization as rigorously as you monitor your human workforce.
You have to know where your intelligence lives and build proprietary systems that a government decree can't wipe out in an hour and a half.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to mull over. I mean, if intelligence is no longer borderless and token capital is the new global currency, what happens to the organizations and the nations that fail to build their own cognitive reserves?
It's a huge strategic vulnerability.
Will we soon see a totally new type of bankruptcy? A computational bankruptcy, where you don't run out of money, but you simply run out of the legal right to think.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.